Hey guys, this is Mark Agnesi at Norman's Rare Guitars. We're back here in the back room again. Haven't done one of these in a while, but I get a lot of questions about ES 335's. It's one of my favorite guitars of all times, but there's a lot of different variations from year to year. I'm going to kind of show you guys some different examples, kind of show you a timeline of how the guitars change so you kind of know what's going on. For starters, the 335 was first released in 1958. However, 58 was, with a lot of their first year guitars, like with the Les Paul and 52 and everything, kind of had some neck angle issues. They really didn't quite have it nailed down yet. So 59 is when they really start to get great. And this is what I've got here is a 59. So you'll hear some catchphrases thrown around about 335s: dot neck, block neck, wide nut, trapeze, stop tail. There's all these different phrases. This is a 1959. From 58 through 61, even the early parts of 62, you're going to have the the dot necks, what they call, which just means dot inlays on the fretboard. Also, a couple of weird things about 58s and 59s. They also have what they call the long pickguard. The pickguard extends all the way down past the bridge pickup all the way to the bridge, which is another interesting feature. Nickel parts, and then the original stop tailpiece. Now this is a big selling point. This is what makes these guitars more valuable than the ones from the later 60s. Oh, one of the things that makes them more valuable. 2 PAF pickups. This has got that classic 1959 neck shape, with a little bit more meat to it. But this is just a really spectacular example. Sunburst finish, 1959 ES 335. Now the next thing that changes once you get into 1960, you lose the long pickguard and they go back to like the normal length short pickguard. You're also going to change the neck profile a little bit. I don't have a 60, I've got a 61, which is going to be very, very similar. This one has got some gorgeous wood on it too. Nice kind of bird's eye in the top. But you can see the pickguard stops here now, right around the bridge humbucker. Again, nickel parts, PAFs, still a stop tail, dot fingerboard. Once you get into 60, 61, you start to get that blade neck, or what they call the slim taper. It's a lot less meat to it, a lot flatter on the back. Some guys like this, some guys like the big neck. It's really a personal preference thing. Really the only other change you're going to see are the double ring Cluson tuners in 1960, 61 and on. Just be single ring, 59, 58. Once it starts getting a little different, 62, again, different year, different appointments. 62 is the first year that they go to the block neck. So no longer with the dot neck inlay. This is kind of like what you think of Eric Clapton and Cream. This is kind of more of that guitar. So again, still original stop tail piece. These stop tail pieces go up and through early 65. Normally we say about 64 is the last year of the stop tails, but you might find some early 65s with it. Nickel parts again, short guard, but instead of the dots you have the block inlay on the fretboard. But again, another just stunning example. Cherry red on this one. Cherry was not around until 1961 actually. Everyone kind of has this vision of the red 335, but really natural and sunburst were the only colors that were available the first few years. I think we have one natural left in the warehouse. That's a stunning guitar. So now the other catchphrase you hear is wide nut. Now this is pretty consistent with Gibson throughout the 60s. Gibson's standard nut width is 1 11/16 at the nut. When you pick up a new Gibson guitar today, it's 1 11/16. In the 60s, Gibson started to play with the width of the nut, and 1965 is that first year. So a couple other things happened in 1965. In 65, they discontinue the stop tail piece. This becomes what they call the trapeze bridge, which I'll show you an example of in a minute. And through the rest of the 60s, all the guitars are trapeze bridge or Bigsby. And then the nut width shrinks from 1 11/16 down to 1 9/16. So anything 65 and on through the 60s is going to have just a little bit of a slimmer, slinkier feel at the nut. The only other difference really in 65 is they stopped shipping with nickel parts, and the nickel was changed to chrome. So, Jen, let me get behind you real quick. And I've got one here. This is a little later, but this is a 69. As you can see, the trapeze bridge as opposed to the stop tail. This is going to not be as valuable. Most guys prefer the stop tail, or collectors at least. And then it's got the skinnier nut up here, which is the 1 9/16, and the chrome parts. Now I pulled this one because this one is extra super rare from Norman's Rare Guitars. If you look closely, this one actually shipped with Epiphone Casino inlays instead of the traditional Gibson block inlay. So the parallelogram, just kind of cool. You don't see that a lot. And then really, that's kind of the, in the 70s, it's going to stick to mostly these same appointments. Once you get into the mid-70s, you'll start seeing 335's that have another toggle switch up on the lower horn. And that's just really to split your humbuckers and coil tap them into single coils. But yeah, that's pretty much the story on the 335's. Now there's also 345's, 355's, and they're all slightly different. I think I've got a 345 here to show you. So, for anyone who has Norm's book at home, this one is in the book. This is a 1959 345. Again, you can see the long pick guard that comes down past the bridge. Basically, this is like a 335 on steroids. Still rosewood board, a little different inlay with the split parallelogram, but really what makes this guitar a lot different than the 335 is the 345s are stereo. You also will add the variatone, which is another stereo element. So what you need is a tip ring sleeve cable that then stereo wise to 2 amps, and then this will give you a different variety of tones as you flip through it. 355 is also stereo, although they did ship some mono, but it kind of follows the same guidelines as Les Paul Custom. So ebony board, gold parts, crown on the, diamond on the headstock, multi-ply binding, all the same features a Les Paul Custom would have. And then there's the ES330, which is also the same body size and shape. I've got one here. Let's get all the ES guitars out of the way while we're back here. The 330 looks almost identical, except it's totally hollow inside, no center block. So this guitar is all hollow. Follows the same kind of things as the 335s. Dot necks, inlays up until 62, and then it switches to blocks. However, you're never going to see these with the stop tail piece because being that the guitar is totally hollow, there's nothing for it to attach to. So all of these guitars are going to be a trapeze bridge. The only kind of thing that's unique and interesting about these over a 335 is the neck joint, which joins at the 17th fret instead of the 19th fret. So it's a little, you don't quite have the access to the higher frets. But this also is very similar. The Epiphone equivalent would be the Casino, which John Lennon was known for playing. But really the same guitar. The 330 is the Gibson model, the Casino is the Epiphone model. But if you guys have any other questions, please feel free to send your questions in regarding any kind of guitar. If I've got them here, we'll come back. I'll explain whatever I can explain to you guys so everyone knows a little bit more about what's going on. And one more thing before you turn off the camera, because I just spotted it. How sexy is this? 1960 Fawn Vox Echo Reverb. Go find another one of these. That's about as cool as it gets. But this is a whole different video. We'll get back to you. Thanks for stopping by. Mark Agnesi, Norman's Rare Guitars. Have a good one, guys.